Assalamualaikum everyone, this is me Abu Ahmed Chaudhary and welcome to today we are going to cover the rest of the chapter and we are going to try to cover some new topics on the new chapter inshallah. So let's not delay anymore and let's begin. So I would request everyone to write the name of the chapter and the number of the chapter 2.07, which is more giant structures, which is the name of the chapter is more giant structure, and chapter 2.07 it is the remaining part. But before, let me give a short review on the previous thing which I have explained. So it was that molecular solids have low melting and boiling point because the forces between the molecules in the lattice are weak. We have learned in the previous that why the forces between the molecular solids are weak. Giant structures such as sodium chloride and diamond have much higher melting points because the bonds between the ions or atoms within giant structures are very strong. Giant structures such as sodium chloride and diamond have much higher melting points because the bonds between the ions or atoms within giant structures are very strong. I'm asking pardon for my handwriting as it is not good enough like before, but it's getting good like before. So I hope very soon inshallah my handwriting will be good. Molecules. So the first point which I have written here is that molecular solids have low melting and boiling point because the forces between the molecules in the lattice are weak. Full stop. Molecular solids have low melting and boiling point because the forces between the molecules in the lattice are weak. Giant structures such as sodium chloride and diamond have much higher melting points because the bonds between the ions or atoms within giant structures are very strong. Full stop. I'm not going to explain much more about these 2 points as I have already explained in the previous chapters and also in the previous class why molecular solids have low melting and boiling point and why diamond and sodium chloride have higher melting points. So metals have high melting and boiling point but do not more than diamond but higher than carbon dioxide or water. As we know that metals have very high melting and boiling point, as metals have high melting point, that is why a huge amount of heat is needed to bend a metal. A huge amount of heat is needed to melt a metal. To melt a metal, a huge amount of energy is needed. So metals have high melting point but not more than diamond. So here the thing is that the diamond, in the previous chapter maybe we have learned that a diamond, a carbon atom or a carbon in the form of diamond needs more than 3550 degrees Celsius of heat to melt. Carbon in the form of diamond needs more than 3550 degrees Celsius of heat energy to melt. So that is why it's written that metals have high melting point but not more than diamond, but they have higher melting point than carbon dioxide and water. This is the reason that in normal temperature water is in liquid form and carbon dioxide is in gas form. This is the reason that metals have higher melting point than carbon dioxide and water but not more than diamond. We can also justify this point by comparing the states of metal, carbon dioxide and water. In a normal room temperature, metal is in solid form, where carbon dioxide is in gas form and water is in liquid form. Metals conduct electricity because the delocalized electrons are free to move throughout the structure. Metals conduct electricity because the delocalized electrons are free to move throughout the structure. Let me write it. As you guys are seeing here that I have written here that metals have high melting and boiling point, then carbon dioxide and water but not more than diamond. And I have also written the reason why I have written this statement, or if you are asked that metals have high melt, if you are say if you're given this statement that metals have high melting and boiling point, then carbon dioxide and water, but not more than diamond. Justify this statement or explain what you have understand or explain what does it mean. Then you can write that we can justify the previous statement, or we can justify this statement by comparing the states of metal, water and carbon dioxide. We can justify the previous statement or this statement by comparing the states of metal, water and carbon dioxide at room temperature. I have given bracket and written 25 degrees Celsius. It's not mandatory to write 25 degrees Celsius, but you can write, it doesn't matter. At room temperature 25 degrees Celsius, water is in liquid state and carbon dioxide is in gaseous state. Although diamond is in solid form, I have forgot to written, but let me write it. I hope that you guys are seeing the whiteboard clear enough to understand that all these things are three different parts. First of all, if you're given this above statement that metals have high melting and boiling point, then carbon dioxide and water, but not more than diamond, then you are asked to justify this statement. Then what are you going to write? That we can justify the previous statement or this statement by comparing the states of metal, water and carbon dioxide at room temperature. Carbon dioxide, full stop. Then write at room temperature, give bracket and write 25 degrees Celsius, water is in liquid state and carbon dioxide is in gaseous state and metal is in solid state. Or you can write that water is in liquid state and carbon dioxide is in gaseous state, where metal is in solid state, where you can write and, or where before the word metal is in solid state, before the word metal is in solid state. So state and where metal is in solid state. Although diamond is in solid state, it needs more than 3550 degrees Celsius of temperature to melt. Full stop. Now comes the third point, that metals conduct electricity. Metals, we already know that we already know that metals conduct electricity. Now comes to the question that why it does conduct electricity. It does conduct electricity because there are delocalized electrons which are free to move throughout the structure. As they are free to move throughout the structure, they can conduct electricity. They conduct electricity because the delocalized electrons. Metals conduct electricity because the delocalized electrons are free to move throughout the structure. Because the delocalized electrons are free to move throughout the structure. Metals are hard and have high melting point because they have strong electrostatic force between positive ions, which are the nuclear protons, and sea of delocalized electrons. So to overcome this strong force of attraction, large amount of energy is needed. So I am going to repeat this thing one more time, then I am going to explain this thing. Metals are hard and have high melting and boiling point because they have strong electrostatic force between positive ions and sea of delocalized electrons. So to overcome this force of attraction, large amount of energy is needed. So metals have high melting and boiling point because metals are hard, and it has high melting and boiling point because there is a very strong electrostatic force of attraction. Metals are hard and have high melting and boiling points. Then comparing to carbon dioxide and water and many other substances, so it has high melting and boiling point because, and it is also hard because that it has strong electrostatic forces, because it has strong electrostatic force of attraction between the positive ions, which are the nuclear protons, positive ions which are the nuclear protons, and the sea of delocalized electron. So there is a force of attraction, a strong electrostatic force of attraction. So as there is a strong electrostatic force of attraction, so we need a higher amount of energy to break the electrostatic force of attraction between these two things. For example, if you have, for example, you and your father, you both have high feelings for each other. You and your father, you two have very high feelings or very strong feelings for each other. So it is not easy to break the bond. It's not easy to break the father and son bond, but if something wrong happens, if you misunderstand your father or something like that, this thing will break the bond. So this misunderstanding here works as a strong or higher amount of energy. This misunderstanding here is the higher amount of energy, and the bond between you and your father is the strong electrostatic force of attraction. So whenever there is a misunderstanding between a relationship, the relationship destroys or the relationship breaks. The relationship breaks. So this is the thing that we can relate with the real life. That metals conduct electricity because the delocalized electrons are free to move throughout the structure. This is the thing which I have said right now. Now is the reason that why metals are hard and have high melting and boiling points. As I have already said that the metals have high melting and boiling point, and also it is hard because there is a strong electrostatic force of attraction between the positive ions, which are the nuclei protons, and the sea of delocalized electrons, for which a strong amount of energy or a higher amount of energy is needed to break the strong forces of attraction. So now come to the next point, that metals are properties of metals, that metals are good conductors of electricity and heat. Metals conduct electricity because they have free or mobile or delocalized electrons. These electrons are free to move throughout the structure. This is the thing I have just written all these things. Why metals are good conductors of electricity? Metals are good conductors of electricity because the delocalized electrons, at least in each atom, is free, which is able to move freely throughout the structure. Hence it carries electricity, which is a more discrete and short form of the thing which I have just said here. Now we have to describe the metallic structure. Metals consist of giant metallic structure. Metals consist of giant metallic structure. The atoms in a metal are arranged in a regular pattern and are closely packed together. In metals, the outer shell electrons of each atom become delocalized and surround the positive metal ions, which are free to move throughout the structure and responsible for conducting current. Metals have a very strong electrostatic force of attraction between them. So I hope you guys have taken essays or written this thing. Now I am going to erase this thing and write the things which I have just said. So as you guys here seeing is that why metals have high melting and boiling point. Metals are hard and have high melting point because they have strong electrostatic force between the positive ions, bracket nuclei protons, and sea of delocalized electrons. To break the strong electrostatic force of attraction, a higher amount of energy is needed. Metals are hard and have high melting point because they have strong electrostatic force of attraction or electrostatic force between the positive ions, bracket nuclei protons, and sea of delocalized electrons, comma. To break the strong electrostatic force of attraction, a higher amount of energy is needed. Full stop. So this is the answer that why metals are hard and have high melting point. I hope that my handwriting is good enough to understand or big enough to understand after taking essays or to write the notes. The first word is not metal C, it's metals. That the last one is S. METALS. Metals are hard and have high melting point because they have strong electrostatic 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 force between the positive ions, bracket nuclei 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 protons, and sea of delocalized DELOCALISED delocalized electrons. To break the comma after delocalized electrons, they then give a comma to stop for a while, and to start again, to break the strong electrostatic force of attraction, to break the strong electrostatic force of attraction, ELECTROSTIC, electrostatic force of attraction, 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 a higher amount of energy is needed, full stop. So now comes the point that why metals are good conductors of electricity. I am not going to write the properties of the metals. That's a very basic and that's very understandable by anyone. Anyone can write the properties of the metals, that metals are very good conductors of heat and electricity. Metals have higher melting point than carbon dioxide and water and some relative things, but they have a lower melting point than diamond. Yeah, these are the 3 points or 3 properties of metals or something you can say. So as you guys are seeing here, which is written that describe the metallic structure. Describe the metallic structure. Metal consists of a giant metallic structure. Metals consist of a giant metallic structure. The atoms in a metal are arranged in a regular pattern and are closely packed together. Metal consists of a giant metallic structure. The atoms in metal are arranged in a regular pattern and are closely packed together. Full stop. Metals consist of a giant metallic structure. Full stop. The atoms in a metal are arranged in a regular pattern and are closely packed together. Full stop. In metals, the outer shell electron of each atom becomes delocalized. Full stop. Become delocalized. So don't give any full stop, right? And surrounds the positive metal ions, which are free to move throughout the structure and responsible for conducting current. Full stop. Metals have a very strong force of attraction. I am asking pardon for my handwriting one more time. It's gonna take some time to make it better. Metals consist of giant metallic structure. Full stop. The atoms in a metal are arranged in a regular pattern and are closely packed together. Full stop. In metals, the outer shell electron of each atom becomes delocalized and surround the positive metal ions, which are free to move throughout the structure and responsible for conducting current. Full stop. Metals have a very strong force of attraction. And that's the end of chapter 2.07, which is giant structures. If you want to see the structure of metal, please go to Google and search the structure of metal. Now let's come to the new chapter. So as you guys are seeing that we have started a new chapter, which is chapter 3.01, and the name of the chapter is acid and alkali. Today we are going to learn the first question after reading the name of the chapter. Is that the first question comes in our mind is that what is an acid? So today now we are going to find out the answer of what is an acid. An acid is any substance that is in water solution. An acid is any substance that in water solution tastes sour, change blue litmus paper red, reacts with metals to liberate hydrogen, reacts with bases to form salts and promote reaction. Now this looks some difficult, the answer looks some difficult and also some huge, right? Also it's looking huge and difficult, but this answer is only for understand, and if you write it they won't cut your marks. They are gonna give you they'll give you the full marks. For 3 or 4, they are going to give you 3 or 2, whatever the mark is. Now the same answer, we have the same question, but the answer we have to give for 2 marks. Now we have to give the answer for 2 marks. So now we are going to write is that acid is a substance. Acid is a substance that produces H+, which means hydrogen ions, means positive hydrogen ions, as hydrogen always produces positive ions, so we don't write positive hydrogen ions, we only write hydrogen ions. And we have to give the state symbol. The state symbol is aqueous. It's not liquid, it's not gas, it's aqueous. Aqueous means that the hydrogen is forming while water is added in it. While water is added in it. For example of any acid is hydrochloric acid, HCl, which is the very common acid which we all have in our stomach. So the state symbol of any acid is aqueous, which means that the water is added. It's very hard to find pure acid. It's very hard to find pure acid. So anyways, that is not our topic right now. Our topic is that we have to give the answer for the same question for only 2 marks. Now for only 2 marks, we don't need to write all this history. We are just going to write it in a very short form. Acid is a substance that produces H+, which means hydrogen ions, aqueous, when dissolved in water, full stop. Acid is a substance that produces H+, which means hydrogen ions, aqueous, when dissolved in water, full stop. The higher the concentration, the lower the pH. The higher the concentration, the lower the pH. And the lower the pH, it means that the acid is more reactive or the acid is more dangerous. A lower pH acid means that it's very acidic. It's very acidic, which means that the amount of water mixed in it is very low. The amount of water mixed in it is very low. That is the meaning of a lower pH. So let's keep it till today. Now we are going to learn the rest of the chapter in the next class, inshallah. So assalamu alaikum everyone.